just want to be free. And that's back for part 3 of all of this race baiting concerning this narrative that's going on down there in Florida. Because apparently they're no longer teaching our kids about slavery. They're teaching them that they should be thankful for slavery because slavery benefited black people. See, that's how a dumb brain would think.
Welcome to my party. We're just getting started.
That's where a dumb brain would stop. Right there. But if you are a critical thinker, you'll start to see that this is a game to these people. This is a strategy for the left. They're manipulating you. If you're black and you're angry and you're mad and you respond to this without thinking it through, that's exactly what they want from you. But here's what I want from you all. I want y'all to text me at 1-330-974-4607. We can stay connected just in case YouTube start tripping. This way you can get notifications all the time without missing. Text MAGA to that number and I'll reply. From that point on, you'll receive text messages from me whenever I go live or upload a new video. Now, quick commercial, then we're gonna get right into this video. Now, the US dollar has lost 85% of its value since the 70s when the dollar decoupled from gold. And the government seems bent on continuing the tradition. From now until after the next election, the government can print as much money as they want. And the last time they did that, inflation went up 9%. Now, there's always risk of investments and there's no guarantee of any kind. However, gold is the one asset that has proven to withstand inflation. Invest in gold with Noble Gold Investments. You'll also get a 24 karat, 1/4 ounce gold standard coin for free. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com right now. That is noblegoldinvestments.com or simply dial 1-877-646-5347. It's the only gold company that I trust. Now, let's get to this video. You're their candidate. They love it. They like, we don't want you to think it through. No critical thinkers here. We don't want that. We don't want you to sit back and internalize what we're suggesting is happening down in Florida. Because when you do that, then it makes no sense. So let me recap. Go back and watch part 1 and 2 because I'm exposing these race baiters. I'm sick of them. But if you watch part 1 and 2, Kamala Harris is out on the campaign trail down there fighting for freedom, I guess, to teach racism and slavery the way it really was. And the fact that Ron DeSantos has a part in the curriculum, apparently, that says that black people took away some benefits after slavery and applied it to their life, which is a fact. Okay. I talked about that in part 1. Please go back. Don't stop and say, man, this dude is sellout, man. How you going to support? No, go back and watch part 1 because they want you to do exactly that if you're watching me right now. They want you to stop right there and be like, I ain't listen to this dude, man. He's sellout, man. This and that. Go back and watch part 1 and you'll see why I said that. Okay. But that's what they want you to think. So now we have another race baiter. He's on here. So we got to go back to the old days, y'all, because we ain't made no progress. Soon I will be done. The troubles of the world. Right now I'm hearing horses, men with white sheets riding up behind me. I'm scared. Men with white sheets, you know. So let's go ahead and see what this black dude who already been busted for race baiting and had to pull back because, see, remember, when you are an activist, when you are a radical leftist, when you are a race baiter, you jump out and you drop the biggest, hardest race baiting narrative that you can and you ask questions later. See, and most of the time you don't even ask questions because you don't want to know the answer to that. When facts and stuff comes out about the truth, you either ignore it or, like this guy who almost is about to get sued for talking about the Karen that they were talking about. Yeah, then he started to change his tone, but now he's right back. He didn't learn from it. So let's hear from this dude.
Done it. They are now mandating that schools teach slavery as beneficial. Let's go to the first video.
Do not, for the love of God, tell kids that slavery was beneficial because I can guarantee you it most certainly was not.
Now, how does Buff Love there know that? Now, remember, guys, maybe Buff Love, the guy done speaking, maybe he in his mind really thinks that it's that simplistic. That he really thinks that, you know, they're saying slavery was beneficial. Nobody's going, and what else? See, notice that. He don't want to talk about how it could be beneficial or was beneficial to the slaves once they were emancipated. They learned skills even though it was against their will, but they learned some skills. They learned how to live by cutting stuff up, fishing, planting, growing crops, taking care of animals. They learned those things, and after they left the plantation, after they were freed from those Democrats, then they went out and they used that stuff. But I guess we're not allowed to talk about that because, we have to deny the facts. We can't talk about the facts because they hurt our feelings, but they don't want to talk about the facts and they don't want to put those facts into context. They want you to do what this dude just said. Do not tell black kids that slavery was beneficial to them. No one's saying that. And if you think that's what they're saying, then you're dumb. He wants you to think that's exactly what's going on.
Thank you.
Education and civil rights advocates are slamming new Black history teaching standards in Florida. Under the new rules, middle school teachers must now include lessons, quote, how slaves developed skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit.
It's inaccurate, it's ahistorical. Critics are calling this a big step backwards and saying it's a disservice to Florida students because they're not going to learn the full truth and the full accurate truth of American history.
Like no Republicans owned slaves? Like there was no Southern switch that took place? Like Jim Crow laws came from the Democrat Party and not the Republicans, huh? Like the Nazi Party used the Jim Crow laws that were developed by Democrats here and just used that to develop their, Nazism and all of that stuff. You mean like that? Because I didn't learn that. I thought that all white people, when I was growing up learning about Black history, I thought all white people owned slaves. I had no idea. The Democrat Party were the ones who fought against all the civil rights and all of that. They were responsible for that. Jim Crow 2.0. They were responsible for that. Oh, and don't forget the Ku Klux Klan formed by the Democrat Party. Yeah, you mean like that type of history? But here she is talking about, they're trying to suggest that slaves learned skills while on the plantation. Did they not? I mean, you think they was out there just wandering around? You think that the slave masters were okay with them just trying to figure it out on their own? I'm sure they had to teach them before they worked on the plantation or did whatever they had them doing. Now, once again, for the dumb folks, I have to put the disclaimer out there. I'm not saying that slavery was good for Black people, but it is a fact that once they were on the plantation, they were taught how to do things that after they were free, they went and did those things to survive as well. For you to be so naive to think that as soon as they were emancipated, they forgot everything they learned on the plantation. They just went out there like, now as we free, I just don't know how to plant. I just don't know how to take care of no animals. I just don't know how to wool together a coat. I just don't know nothing now. We just got to start all over. You think that's what happened? You think that's what happened? It didn't. But they don't want you to know that. And they want you to think this is a good thing because Black people learn stuff. No, that's not what we're saying. It's just a fact. That's all it is. It's how they transitioned from slavery into freedom and took some of the stuff that they learned during slavery and applied it afterwards. But no, they don't want you to know that. They want you to think this is about watering down the seriousness of slavery.
This is insanity on top of insanity. Parents, advocates of all different backgrounds proclaimed this is wrong. Do not do it. None of them listen. Why? Because they are under the direction of a madman named Governor Ron DeSantos, and they themselves are feckless leaders in positions of authority. Here it is.
And I am very concerned by these standards, especially some of the notion that, enslaved people benefited from being enslaved is an accurate and a scary standard for us to establish in our educational curriculum.
The proposed changes specifically for elementary and middle school students leave out the last 150 years of Black history. Where Black history is taught provides a simplified and sterilized version of history.
The new standards suggest that violence by Black residents in defense of their lives and homes as they were surrounded by armed mobs and flames, and as they were forced to flee their homes or be shot or burned, are to be included as a seemingly equal part of the standard. This is egregious if you understand what happened to the Black residents in Ocoee in 1920.
First of all, I want to say any kind of standards that indicate that slavery benefited Black people is such an insult. My husband is Black, my daughter is Black, and the thought that slavery benefited them, how could that be taught? The fact that the pushback to Reconstruction benefited them, the fact that Jim Crow benefited them, how can we teach that to students?
Well, you do it all the time. You teach horrible history to students all the time. Notice they brought up all these liberal activist teachers who are manipulating our kids and probably believe in teaching them that they got 53 genders and all of that other stupid stuff. But I know one thing, I guarantee you all of these teachers or whoever these people are vote for the Democrats. I guarantee you that much, or they wouldn't be out there speaking. So now, all that Jim Crow she's talking about and how her kids and she's married to a black woman, so what? Either you don't know the history of the party that you're voting for and supporting, or they don't know the history of it. Maybe y'all just focus on the fact that slavery was bad, but who's responsible for it? I mean, who is the greatest offenders? Who would not let it go even after the slaves were set free? Was it the Republicans? No, it was the party that you up here talking about all of this stuff that hurt them and emancipation, and then they was fighting against it and they wouldn't let that was your party that you support. So that history, I guarantee you, they don't want to talk about that, but they're going to try to bring this up and make it seem like, you know what, just by telling a simple fact. But however, we're not going to say after you tell that fact, the context of it is not saying that slavery was good and we all are better as black people because of it. That's not what the context is of it. And they also aren't going to tell you all of the rest of the curriculum that focuses on how horrific slavery was. If you are going off of that logic, then none of that stuff should exist. They should have eliminated all the other parts of the curriculum that is highlighting how horrible slavery was. Why aren't they talking about that? All their job is to get up there and pretend that it's that simple. We're no longer teaching slavery was horrible. In fact, we're now teaching that it benefited black people.
How can someone look at a child with a straight face and say that slavery benefited black people?
All right, members, we have the motion on the table to approve the two rules. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Show the amendment approved. Members, we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll be back.
This is adverse to the sentiment of the majority of Americans. They do not agree with this. The majority of white America does not agree with this curriculum adoption. Obviously, black Americans do not agree. But let's count the hypocrisy in all of this. As I said from day one, this is the plan of Governor DeSantis to eliminate diversity, to eliminate inclusion. He is literally making conversations at the kitchen table of racist law.
So y'all hear the race baiter right there try to make up a whole nother narrative. See, it's all about diversity. It's about inclusion. It's about this Marxist leftist agenda that they use to whip everybody into line, to make everybody agree with them, and to manipulate the emotions of our citizens and to divide us. See, they need us to hate each other so that they can destroy the country and have complete power. If we were all unified, we wouldn't submit. So they're using all of these fake narratives like that guy just said, and pretending that Ron DeSantis is fighting against inclusion and diversity and all of that stuff, which it has nothing to do with that. And he's talking about sitting at the table of racists. Now, how much racism can you apply in 2023? At what point do you blow through all of your racism grace? You know, how many times can one party, a group of politicians, or the liberal media apply racism to every application before people wake up and start realizing that, wait a minute, could this be a tactic? Could y'all be using racism? Because I'm noticing that it's applying to every situation. Everything can't be racist. Why aren't we seeing the manifestation of all of this racism? Why aren't we seeing the effects of it? Shouldn't we still be out there running in the woods barefoot from massa if it was really that much racism going on? Shouldn't all those black people down there in Florida be hightailing it out of there to get to somewheres like California where they let black people rob and steal and do whatever they want and get out of jail? Shouldn't they all be doing that? But instead they're all staying down there amongst all of that racism and that curriculum that's teaching them shut your mouths because racism benefited you. But if you're not a critical thinker, you won't catch it. You'll just stop right at the fake narrative that racism is taking place in Florida because Ron DeSantis wants to teach black people that racism was good. There were benefits. Please don't be simple-minded. Don't fall for this. I'm so sick of these people, man. They know what they're doing. They know it's a lie. They know they're manipulating us, and they're prostituting themselves. And the black folks who jump on board with this are the main prostitutes. So since they want a history lesson and slavery, during slavery, they wanted to keep black folks in check. They wanted to make people that was on the plantation, black folks, become content and actually feel a connection with Massa like he was really taking care of them. Massa was good for us. He's let us eat pig feet. He's let us eat them chitlins there, but we can't have the bacon though. That's for Massa and stuff. They wanted them to get to a point where they no longer looked at slavery as bad. In fact, they looked at the slave owners as, this is good for for us. I ain't leaving his here plantation. And one of the ways they did it was to elevate certain black slaves to a point where they feel a little bit more privileged. They got some benefits, and they keep their ear to the street about how the slaves are feeling. And whenever you saw or heard a slave say, wait a minute, I think we might be free. I think if we get to the north, we can. Whenever you heard that, that overseer's job was to go back to massa and say, they's thinking about leaving. That ain't good for us here. And turn all the other slaves against the free-thinking slaves. That guy you just listened to was one of those overseers. That guy don't want you thinking critical or independently. He wants you to remain on that Democrat plantation, loyal to the Democrat Party, who pushes these type of narratives and this type of strategy to divide the country, and lying to black folks, destroying their neighborhoods, allowing violence to run rampant all through their neighborhoods by blaming it on the white people, not them, other white people, not them, okay? The ones that's actually over their cities, not them. Don't blame it on us, even though we're over your city. Blame it on somebody else, some Republicans somewhere, knowing that those cities, the Republican cities and states, they run well. They are tough on crime. You don't see all these shootings every weekend and stuff, but don't look over there at that. Just look over at our narrative in your head that we're dropping in there and saying racism is all over the place, and look at Ron DeSantis down there and us and this and that. Oh, so that's why all those black people are down there? That's why there's a big fleeing and a mecca down there to Florida from black people? But they want you to overlook all of that evidence, right? So you gotta ask yourself, have we been voting for the baddies? Now, I ain't finished with this. Coming up is part 4. God bless you. Hit that like button, share my videos. Please make sure you subscribe. Make sure your notification buttons are turned on to all. Subscribe to my alternative channel just in case YouTube give me the slip or something. You'll know how to find me. Don't forget to check me out with all the podcasts and follow me on Rumble in the Jungle. All the links are listed below. If you want to donate to my channel, feel free. Those links are below as well.